What up, YouTube? Denny in Saigon. My name's Denny. I'm an American, but I live in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. It's a great city. I love this city. It's easy to live here. I posted a picture of an aerial shot of Saigon on my Facebook. My cousin commented she couldn't live here. You know, she's back in Indiana. She needs her neighbors to be three fields away from her home. You know, you don't get that here. Indiana is green and peaceful mostly, and clean, but it's quite boring. It can be quite boring, especially if you happen to be a single middle-aged guy. There aren't too many pretty Asian girls wandering around in the cornfields of Indiana. And that's why I'm in Saigon. It's another nice day. Most of them are. It's going to be rainy season soon. It rains a lot in the rainy season, of course. Pretty much every day. I was telling my mom we don't really get like big storms, you know, like in Indiana. Back home we get storms, you know, tornadoes, thunderstorms, every kind of storm in Indiana, including ice storms, windy days, all that stuff. We don't really see a lot of that here. It's just mostly it's rain. Occasionally some thunder. It can be a big pain in the butt when you're on a motorbike. I'm on my lunch break. I just finished teaching at preschool. I get about 2.5 hours, and then I go back and teach for another couple hours, and then I'm off for another couple hours, and then I teach again for a couple more hours. It's kind of the life of a teacher. 3, 2, 1, let's go. That's how it works here in Vietnam. I know people contact me and stuff sometimes. They ask me questions about teaching over here. It's pretty easy to find yourself with a job over here teaching. They kind of expect you to have a degree, you know, and be a native speaker. If you're an American, or a Canadian or whatever, you know, Brit or Australian, it's easy, real easy for you to get a job here. You do need to like kids a lot. You know, because what it is some people come over here and they start teaching, you know, English to kids. Maybe they've never been a teacher before. So maybe they weren't teaching in the West. I think that's kind of common. And so, you know, you're going to find yourself surrounded with hundreds of kids. And they're cute kids, real adorable kids, sweet. And some of them are good students and others are ornery. You know? Some of them don't want to sit still. They are just kids. Yeah. Some of them will give you a high five, some of them will give you a hug, and some of them will sock you in the nads. You just have to carry a bag, protect your nads. The teaching jobs do vary quite a bit here. So you may find yourself some of these jobs you wouldn't want, right? You just wouldn't want. I've been offered jobs. I was offered a job with a big company, and after I read their contract, I turned it down. Basically, they had all kinds of problems, but they were offering a pretty high hourly rate, but it basically didn't come out to that because it only come out to $1,400 a month, and they want you to be at the school for 40 hours a week. That's not gonna, you know, that doesn't add up to $22 an hour or whatever they were saying. Basically, they wanted you to sit in the office for 4 hours each afternoon for free, doing paperwork. And then the other thing is they were going to dock you twice your hourly rate for being late. You know, for being late. You can't possibly do that. They're setting you up to take your whole check, you know, to hold your wages. You got to give them a lot of notice before you can quit and all that stuff, or they get to keep your check. I mean, it's a lot of nonsense. I passed on that job, and I have a preschool and a language center, and they both treat me real well. I'm treated quite well. I can be late. My language center, I can be a few minutes late. They're not going to say a word about it. In Saigon, I mean, you know, the traffic will come out of nowhere. It's real easy to be late here. You would have to leave very early to make sure you were never late for anything if you're driving across town here. Most foreigners come here and they live in District 1 or District 2, and then they get sent to all around the city to teach. A lot of people take the grab bike or something. Your results may vary. It's really better to live close to where you teach, but just have to kind of look around and you can find a couple part-time jobs that will work with you. From my experience, I haven't found any employers who will hire you full-time and then pay you the same as 2 part-time jobs will. They're all talking full-time work for $1,400 a month, and that is simply, if you're an American, you probably can't afford to live off that even here. I mean, rent's cheap here and everything, but if you're a Westerner, you probably have some obligations in the West, and there's just no way. So I scraped together 2 part-time jobs, and each one of them pays me a pretty good rate, and I live off my weekly salary, and then I get a monthly salary I can save. Now I'm saving for a trip back to the USA so I can see my kids, go back and get into all those problems they got going on back there. Yeah, so I've been really into the news the last few days because, of course, the Mueller's report was, that's the big news, the Mueller report. Didn't find any collusion. It was doomed from the start, man. It was doomed from the start. I don't know what planet you're living on. I seen Rachel Maddow almost in tears when she realized that Trump's not going to be impeached for this. Look, do they believe their own bullshit and lies? They probably do. It's hard for me to fathom that they actually believe it. The whole idea was completely absurd from the start. You'd have to be a nut to believe it. You're going to run for president of the United States and who are you going to get to help you? The Russians? It's a joke. It's a joke. Vladimir Putin doesn't want cheap American energy. He doesn't want the American middle class to have jobs. He doesn't want a strong middle class. It's a joke. He's, whatever his agenda is, it's not for the American people who elect Trump. It's it's real nonsense. But yeah, I'll tell you what they ought to do though. Of course, CNN's talking today is, Trump, he's going to weaponize his response. You know what? It's time they bust some balls. They need to bust some balls in America. America is a nation of laws. If you ever cross the center line, you're going to hear America is a nation of laws, and they're going to bust your balls. They bust a lot of balls in the USA. And they got a law for everything. Everything's illegal. And if they don't have 2 tiers of justice, then they're going to have to bust some balls. They're going to have to bust, I'd say, McCabe and Comey and Peter Strzok. They deserve to have their balls busted. If it's 2 tiers of justice, they'll bounce. Their balls will bounce. Nothing will happen. And that's what CNN has in mind right now. It's CYA time right now. They're doing everything they can to spin this in a way that just makes it look like they didn't really do anything wrong. They were just concerned for the country. They did all kinds of things wrong, man. They did all kinds of things wrong. There was 500,000 articles over the last 2 years about Trump colluding with Russia. 500,000 articles, dudes. And I read most of those articles. I'm telling you, most of those articles would leave out a big portion of the story. For example, whenever they talk about the Trump Tower meeting, they'd never mention the fact that the Russian lawyer was flown into the country. She let in under special circumstances by the Obama administration, and then she went and met with Glenn Simpson before and after the meeting. So they leave that part out every time when they talk about that story, And there's a lot of stories they do the same thing too. Most of it they just leave out much of what you needed to know. 500,000 half a freaking million stories about Trump colluding with Russia. It was ridiculous. And yeah, they need to bust some balls, man. They need to bust some balls. A nation of laws, a nation of ball busters. They need to bust some balls. I hope they bust at least Clapper and Brennan and Comey and McCabe. McCabe lied to Congress. He lied under oath. Comey lied to Congress. Lied under oath. Peter Strzok, I mean, you could go on and on forever. That guy, he's probably still in law enforcement. The fine men and women of law enforcement. And don't take that wrong, because I do like cops. I'm not an anti-cop guy. In my mind, most cops are salt of the earth people. Cops and soldiers are generally good people. Okay, they're generally people you can trust, people with honor, people who love the country, people who love their family, people who are loyal, and I believe that. But man, when a bad cop, when he goes sideways, that's a guy I can't stand. That's the guy who needs to have his balls busted. And Peter Strzok's balls, they should be on the chopping block. Quite a few people in the media. The media is completely, they're really trying to cover their asses too. Who was it that said they did a fine job over the last 2 years. They were part of the conspiracy against Trump. They did everything they could to get Trump impeached. Planting stories, leaking stories, anonymous sources. Most of it was bullshit and lies. And not just Trump, but the American people. Trump's not the enemy. Trump's just one enemy. It's the American people. It's Nick Sandmann. It's anybody in a red hat. It's anybody who, you know, wants to preserve the country. I don't know. There's a van behind me. Watch where I'm going here. Yeah, Trump's not the only enemy. Trump, he's representing the American middle class, you know, who elected him. Flyover country. Yeah, there should be great punishment, man. Trump, they're worried about Trump weaponizing shit. It's probably time for Trump to rise up and kick some ass. I'm guessing it's probably time. I think Congress too, instead of these pussies acting like Republicans, you know, acting like they're in the minority, they should do what the Democrats always do. They just pretend they're in the majority and just grab the Dems by the collar and shake the shit out of them. You know, because that's exactly what needs to happen to the Dems. Really, a lot of Republicans too, the never-Trumpers, the Ben Shapiros of the world, they need to have the shit shaken out of them too. It's time for these people to realize who's in charge. You know, and I'll tell you who's in charge. The American public is in charge. They won. They got the president that they wanted, and they should be leading the agenda. Period. And they probably need to stand up and take it. Now's probably a good time. Yeah. Well, that's probably enough ranting about politics at home. It's been interesting to watch. It's been an interesting 2 years. Of course, it's not actually over. They're not giving up. The media is not going to give up. The deep state's not going to give up. The Dems aren't giving up. They'll try, you know, Mueller 2.0 if they can. But that's why it's time to stand up. It's time to you know, put on your big boy pants and go out there and act like you're in charge, I think, for the people on the right, because they are. They're in charge, and they need to remain in charge. Stop backing down to the Dems, and they got no good plans. I want to come home, but I'm not sure if I can live there and I can make a living there. That is my concern. It's never been easy to make a living. In Indiana, there's not a whole lot of jobs. There are, you know, factory jobs and stuff, but to be honest with you, the factories in Indiana, they don't pay as much as the teaching jobs do in Vietnam. That ought to tell you something, folks. That ought to tell you something. Factory owners in America, all the employers in America, it's not about a minimum wage. It's about the people who are working, refusing to work for a low wage. You shouldn't be doing that. You ought to be standing up demanding, you know, you shouldn't do a damn thing in the USA for under $20. There's no American in the USA That's why they want the immigrants coming in, okay, from South America, who will work for $10 an hour. Well, believe me, that's been a big reason why your wages don't go up for the last 50 years or whatever. Because they keep letting in immigrants who will work for a lot less. And they don't demand higher wages, but you shouldn't, there's nobody, you shouldn't mow a yard, you shouldn't wash a window for less than $20 an hour at this point in time in the USA. You should do a damn thing for cheap. Nothing. Nothing should be cheap in the USA. Because nothing is cheap in the USA. If they try to sell you anything, believe me, if they sell you a house, if they sell you a college education, they're going to soak the shit out of you. So if you've got anything to do, you better soak it. You better soak it. You know, I would. My dentist charges a lot of money for a new set of teeth, you know. And I guarantee if I built a website for my dentist, it wouldn't be 50 bucks. You know, it would be about what she's charging for my teeth. That's what it's going to cost her. It ain't going to be free, and it can't be. You can't do it for free. You're going to have to charge people. I tried to start a business mowing yards one time in Indiana and started collecting equipment and stuff. And it's not viable unless you're charging people $20, $30 an hour to mow the yards. You're not going to be able to do it for $5 or $10 an hour. You'll never make a living doing that, in my opinion. I'm excited to go back home and see my family. Real excited. I'm just the cold weather doesn't excite me. The time change doesn't excite me. I'm going to have to get my license back. I've told that story before. I lost my license for not paying support. When I was in Campuchia, I didn't pay support for about 6 months, and they took my license, which I'm getting them back. I'm paying the support. Campuchia didn't treat me well. I had a hard time there. Vietnam's been much better. Much better for me. I'm very happy living here. It is a wonderful place to be. See all those mannequins with the sexy dresses on. They're lining the streets. All these women can wear those dresses. All these women here, they wear the same stuff they wear on, you know, in New York. Fifth Avenue. They wear those dresses that they have on the runways. They can wear that stuff. They put it on, looks right on it. Just another reason you want to live in Vietnam. Anyways, my name's Denny. I'm almost home. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you have a nice day.